Dispatches from Deep Space Nine.
Here we are, Ben. We're talking about Star Trek.
Yep.
Deep Space Nine.
Yep. It's a show.
What's your history with Star Trek?
When I was a kid, my brother watched the original series, and I watched it with them. And animated version, maybe. I remember the Pizza Monster was a thing, and they were in City on the Edge of Forever and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was in the 90s, there was
Pizza Monster. I thought maybe you were talking about a Power Rangers episode.
No, there was like a cave in Kirk, and there's a Pizza Monster. But eventually, the Next Generation, and then about somewhere before or after COVID, you were like, "Hey Ben, let's watch Deep Space Nine."
Yeah.
In this warehouse, and we did.
Right.
And we were going to record it, but then we never did. So I've only watched, and I've held off from watching Deep Space Nine, except for I think I've watched the pilot, which we watched for today's podcast. But I've watched that and maybe one other episode.
Yeah.
And I've watched stuff involving the character of Garrick on YouTube because I found that because I like the actor Andrew Robinson, I think is the actor. He was good. And anyway, I've watched some of that, but I haven't watched the show. I've held off because, you hold it in high esteem. And
I do. It's definitely my favorite Star Trek.
Yeah.
In general. Yeah. I don't, it's definitely varies depending on who you talk to about Star Trek. Some people are hardcore original series people. Some people never got past Next Generation, and they were like, that's where it ends for me. And then you have freaks that are like Enterprise or something. I haven't met an Enterprise person yet, but I'm sure they exist.
Yeah, I mean, also Red Letter Media is a fun thing where they talk about Star Trek a lot, and they have various obsessions.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of things with them with Star Trek. I don't typically watch any of their reviews of stuff because I don't need any like hardcore negative feelings about Star Trek.
Yeah.
In my life, I feel like I'm good.
Yeah.
On that. I don't really like any of the new stuff. Most of it's pretty bad. Anything after Enterprise is questionable.
Will you watch
Strange New Worlds is good. Lower Decks took me a second to come around to, but Lower Decks is exceptional, and they have a great Deep Space Nine episode. But yeah, I've seen every iteration of Star Trek. Now, do I remember all of it? No. So that is why I definitely insisted on we should watch the episodes together, because I think it works better if we watch them together. But also, I don't remember these episodes as well as I should have. I've watched the show all the way through one time, and then I've watched various episodes again.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched everything pretty much chronologically 7 or 8 years ago. And it took a while. It took a couple years or something to watch through everything.
Yeah.
But not every one of them is like this first episode that they call parts 1 and 2, although I don't think it ever premiered as a different, like in parts 1 and 2. I think it was just always together.
Yeah.
But so you have some familiarity with TNG, and so and the original series.
I mean, I watched it on TBS after school sometimes.
But you're more in the vein of where I was when we watched the Deadwood show, and then did the reviews of that. Whereas you're coming into it fairly cold, and I came into Deadwood extremely cold.
Yeah. Well, I'm successfully, I haven't watched really much of the show at all. I've watched what I said, which is some YouTube videos that involving the character Garrick, and also the first episode before. And I think we watched another episode after that. But
So what do you think of this episode now? I guess having seen it twice.
Well, one, let me just say about the whole show.
Yeah.
You sold it to me as it's gritty, which is a weird place to sell Star Trek. You know, like I don't know if you said it's gritty, but that's my understanding from you is maybe reason why you might like it.
It's
grittier.
It's definitely a darker interpretation of Star Trek. Not in this first episode, obviously, because they're trying to sell it to. I mean, you have Picard in the fucking episode. It's like you're trying to sell it to people that are watching TNG. So you want it to seem as much like that as possible at first. And maybe that was the plan the whole time, was that it was supposed to be like that, but it doesn't seem like it once you get a little further into it. It is a, to me, much darker version of it. Now, whereas like once you get past this into Voyager is like a wackadoo version of Star Trek, because crazy wacky things happen out in the fucking Delta Quadrant where they get lost. But this one is much more serious, I think, than and I like all of these, right? But they all have their own little quirks and they're fun. But this is, I think, the most serious one. And does a great job of telling a story with the characters over time, as opposed to previous iterations of Star Trek where they would have loose threads that would connect them together. But this one, literally, like, the story progresses forward, especially once you get a little further into the show.
Yeah. I also want to say this is the writer of Battlestar Galactica, right? Like I got really into Battlestar Galactica.
This is Braga. He's in this. He's doing this, right?
Or isn't it Berman?
Berman?
No, that's not Berman. There's some guy.
Well, Berman's in the Rick Berman is
he's the bad guy from Red Letter Media's coverage, right?
But
it's not Braga who's the Star Trek. Ron Moore. Ron Moore was writing on this.
Sorry, Ron Moore. Yeah. But Brandon Braga also is on this too, I believe.
But he's the Voyager dude, right?
I think he is. We'll have to look that up. I'm not exactly sure.
Go ahead.
But there's also a great documentary that we can watch at the end of all of this. It's called What We Left Behind. I'm staring at the poster of it in my hallway right now. And it gets into a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with this. I offhand, I don't remember all of the who's who behind the thing, but I can be more prepared for the next one.
You don't need to, but I mean, it
should, but yeah.
Well, I just want to say about this episode, returning to it. Like, I think the first time I saw it, I was more negative on it, and I liked it more this time because I think I had different expectations.
Well, it is definitely. Well, every Star Trek, the first episode isn't usually the best. Like, they're trying to set things up, but this is probably the best of the pilots, and it's reflected. I mean, it's reflected in that because, like, at the time, this is the highest rated pilot of a TV show ever.
Really?
This show premiered and was the highest rated pilot to a TV show ever.
That's crazy,
isn't it?
I guess is it the follow up to Next Generation? It
has a lot working for it, right? Yeah. So, TNG has name recognition and it has characters that are gonna, Patrick Stewart's gonna be in the first episode. I'm sure they were promoting that at the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they were pumping it during whatever prime time and stuff, but I mean, it is a great first episode for this era of Star Trek.
Yeah.
But what did you think overall about this episode?
again, the first time I saw it, I think I remember saying, oh man, they got to the baseball sequence. The baseball sequence this time was a very small section of the show. But I remember getting to the baseball section and go, oh God, they're going to use a baseball metaphor. And
yeah.
was like,
and it really only goes on for like 90 seconds or something.
Yeah, what was I thinking? Also, I remember like thinking, Star Trek is, the Federation is the UN, and the Kardashians are the Russians, I guess, maybe, and in Cardassians, sorry,
not Kardashians.
Yeah, sorry, and Bajor, and you got on Picard for mispronouncing Bajor.
Bajor is how that's how they say it, and the rest of the show is Bajor.
But he said Bajor, so I'm following the Picardian.
Bajor. Yeah, you're sticking to the Picardian pronunciation.
Yeah. But I just like, as I said when we were watching it, just like I like that in Game of Thrones when people have different accents and they have different ways of pronouncing. But obviously, as you pointed out, Picard would know how to say
his character demands that he would be like, wait, how do they pronounce it in their native he would be very like on top of it, I would think. And I feel like, and what's weird is the character of Kira was supposed to be Ensign Ro. Ensign Ro was in the last season of The Next Generation.
Yeah, Michelle Forbes. I like Michelle Forbes.
And then I can't remember why, but there's some reason they just go, fuck it, and they don't put her in it. And it may have been some contract dispute or something. I don't know. Was she supposed to be the Bajoran who's major? Yes, it's supposed to be Major Kira. They also fucked up her hair in this episode, and she looked really weird.
I mourn that because I really like Michelle Forbes, who I don't really know her character as Ensign Ro, but she's really great in Battlestar Galactica and a million
she's
other
just really
things.
Angry. Yeah, like that's like basically her entire defining characteristic.
But she's awesome.
Which at first they try to do that with Kira, like make that's she's just a clone of Ro, I guess, and they get away from that. I didn't think that was very character. Yeah, her as an angry person was not very exciting as a character beat. It's too one note, and they do that in the first. A lot of them are kind of weird in the first episode. It's a pilot, I get it, but we pointed out Odo like stopping to explain his entire motivation for like 1 second in a hallway so he could go on a mission. It was odd. Yeah. It's very odd. It's very Shakespearean, and unnecessary, but at the same time, like I was saying when we were watching it, it's like I can almost forgive it for being Odo because he's a fucking drama king. He fucking is always playing up his bullshit in his life. So, but it basically works for the character, so I give it a little bit of a pass. But that is a silly thing that happens in the episode. With no context, he's like, "Let me go on your mission. Let me explain to you why Let me explain to you my brief backstory." While we're rushing out the door to get involved in this armed conflict, but I was gonna say though. So when I first watched it, I was like, of course, everything ends up so the Federation is there to support their peacekeeping mission, which has imperialistic overtones. And I remember criticizing it for that. And now I feel like that's just nitpicking. Also, in light of like modern like events, like we have a very like modern example where like Ukraine needs U.S. support to continue its war. Arguably, anyway, that's politics, but I'm just saying I'm less critical of the idea of the Federation as this peacekeeping force that says in one hand that it's doing good, but often the Bajoran Kira says I don't want the Federation here, but at the end of the episode she's like the Federation can really help us out. And I find that kind of like typical television stuff where it's like there's no nuance. It's just and then what was the other thing that I was going to complain, that I originally complained about? One thing that again, and I realize now I was just bringing my own shit to it, was Picard and Cisco have a conversation and they're like,
Sisko, and it's good drama. It's really nice drama where Picard is like, oh yeah, I guess I killed your wife. Actually, we don't even learn that. He doesn't even learn that. We know that, but Picard doesn't. But anyway, let me just finish the thought, which is just that in the modern world, there's a concept of people having post-traumatic stress syndrome, and then they are disorder, and they are given leave. And in this supposedly enlightened future past ours, Picard is just like, well, Sisko, like there's just this sense that Sisko is gonna get over his trauma of his dead wife through work, and he has the right idea, which is like, maybe I'll just go be a civilian, and also through a religious experience with these Paka things and the 10 orbs that they're going to get, which you commented on was like a video game. And then also one more thing, which is just that when who is the I'm sorry, I'm so embarrassed, but what is the name of the engineering officer? Calmini's character, he's in Star Trek Next Generation.
O'Brien.
When O'Brien says goodbye to Picard, it struck me. I was like, they're not going to hug, and I like they're military officers, but it's just like it made me think of a lot of time had gone by.
It's a quasi-military operation. It's not Starfleet's not 100% military. They do have ranks and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily supposed to be like a military. It's a constant struggle throughout the show of, is it or is it not?
It made me think of like the nature of masculinity. I was like, oh well, like in modern times, those characters might actually hug or express tenderness instead of like leaving it unspoken that they're leaving each other's lives forever. And you point out that it's a father-son thing. It's a very familiar father-son dynamic, like you said this. Yeah. And I think that's a good point. And it's very typical for shows. But anyway, and maybe that wouldn't change in the modern world. But anyway, that's what struck me when I was watching it.
But like I said earlier, I mean, it would have changed if it was in Star Trek Discovery. They all would have been like sobbing and fucking like falling all over each other, and it would have been embarrassing.
Yeah.
Which is the exact opposite direction of of where it should be going. I mean, that's part of. I do like Star Trek, and it's hard to tell in the pilots of these episodes because people are figuring out their characters and all that other shit. And they're sitting there telling you their entire backstory in fucking 45 seconds before you get on a ship or whatever, which is stupid. But once it gets further into it, it is very subtle. Like there's subtleties that happen within it. But, it is also like traditional Star Trek is more kind of a stage production in a lot of ways. So you have to kind of, I think, like the theater. And, that's why I like that. What's the show that we've been meaning to review also? The Roman one.
I, Claudius.
That's also why I like I, Claudius. And it has some of the same people in it. But very well, here, let's kind of run through the episode real quick.
Well, before you leave the idea of theater, I just want to say, we're going to identify that someone's an alien. Let's just change one aspect of their face. Let's put some dots.
Well, that's classic Star Trek.
I know it is, but that gets in the way of my ability to take in the grittiness sometimes. And I'll get used to it as I come back to Star Trek.
Again, the grittiness will come. It'll smack you in the face, I think. Mm-hmm. You'll have to get used to the stagey kind of lighting. I mean, that's not going to go away because it is what it is. It's they're making a weekly show, so it's going to look like how it's going to look. But if you can suspend your disbelief of it, it gives you some pretty interesting takes on Star Trek that hadn't been done yet. That they also then fuck up later in some of this newer stuff, and they're like, we're gonna go really gritty with it, and it's like, okay, well now you've lost the way. This isn't. No one wants to fucking watch a Section 31 show, which I don't even know if you know what the fuck that is, but
I know it through Red Letter Media. It's the
it's not
the Suicide Squad.
It's like That's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like the CIA, essentially. But is introduced in this show. This is where the concept of it comes from, and I think all these showrunners are kind of kicking themselves over it a little bit, because I think they gave some people the incorrect assumption that they needed to keep running with this. It's no, please stop.
Yeah,
we don't need to keep doing this. But okay,
well,
so
let's
get to it. Let's get to no.
I just want to say theater.
We're never gonna get to it.
I just want to say that, like, they take one aspect of a face, like the neck muscles at the edge of the neck, some dots on the forehead, and what the other thing was, like, there was one other thing. I was like, they're just taking one aspect. Oh, the nose, the front of the nose on the Bajorans, and they're just accentuating that one aspect and leaving the rest of the head alone. It's just like, oh, we're going to do one feature and we're going to accentuate it, and that will be the alien aspect.
Yes,
and again, I will get used
expensive.
to it, and I'll get used to it. I love I Claudius, and that is like literally they have a toga, like that's it. Anyway, that's all I want to say.
They knew there was going to be a lot of Bajorans in this.
Yeah,
and they was going to be fucking expensive to do anything more than put some ridges on their nose and put an earring on their fucking ear, and that's it.
Why even do that? Like, just let them
because it's an alien. Because it's an alien.
They're humanoids.
They're humanoids. They're just from a different planet. They got ridges on their fucking face. You know?
Okay.
You're gonna have to just accept that.
No, I accept that. It's just like, and again, like, maybe it was also, you commented on how Odo's face you didn't think Odo's face was good, but anyway.
Well, it's fucked up in this episode because they haven't quite figured out what they want to do with it yet, but they figure it out pretty quickly. But all right, let's get into we're just going to go very quickly through the beat by beat of it, because the beginning of the episode starts with a very important battle of Wolf 359 that was in Star Trek The Next Generation. And it's when Picard is assimilated by the Borg, becomes Locutus, and then ends up, we find out through this show, killing Jennifer, who is Sisko's wife and Jake's mom. And so that's why he harbors all those like ill will towards Picard. And I think over the course of this episode, he has his own weird encounter with some crazy ass shit. And then he kind of is like, finally comes into the fold of like upper level officers that experience insane shit, and then he's like, maybe I should cut Picard a little bit of slack here, because wacky shit happens. Like, suddenly you meet non-corporeal fucking life forms inside of a wormhole that's artificially made by them, and all these relics over the course of 10,000 years or whatever the fuck, that don't understand time. So maybe I should give Picard a little bit of slack on this. I genuinely think in that last scene, that's part of the calculus of what's happening when he's talking, the difference in the power dynamics at the end as opposed to the beginning scene where he's talking to Picard, because he's got a chip on his shoulder, he's very pissed. Makes sense. But I think by the end he gains enough perspective on the situation. And they even make fun of stuff like that in Lower Decks, where they're like, this kind of crazy shit happens every fucking week. Like, they reference stuff that happens in that show that we never see on screen, as though they run into like wacky, zany shit every other day.
Yeah. Which
is a Star Trek thing. But
again, going back to my nitpicking, which is really silly, but it's just like, that's not, what Sisko needs is therapy. And he got therapy in this episode, but it's just like, you don't get therapy through life endangering encounters.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
You would think in those 3 years he's probably gone through therapy, didn't work, didn't take, whatever. Picard also may not have looked at his entire fucking thing. He doesn't know Sisko's entire life story. He's here to hand off command of this station to this commander. That's it. You know, it's just the next assignment for Picard. So the emotional weight of what's happening in this guy's life, he's just the next guy that he sees. And then 5 minutes later, he's going to talk to somebody else. You know what I mean? He's the captain of the largest ship in the fleet that goes on the craziest missions all the time.
Oh, you're talking about from Picard's perspective, not Sisko's.
From Picard's perspective, he's like, I don't know. Yeah. And from Sisko's perspective, it seems like he's trying to shake himself out of it a little bit, but he's not actively trying to reflect on any of it. And this is literally, they hold up a mirror to him, the prophets. Those are the wormhole aliens. They also are referred to as wormhole aliens in this. But the prophets hold up a mirror to him in this episode, quite literally. And then he has that moment of self-reflection, right? Yeah. And it took a big change in his life for it to actually happen. But
you said, you pointed out, like, when she was talking about the priestess of the planet was talking, he went there for, to rally people. Kaiopaka. And
Kai is a term, so it's like the Pope.
Okay, her name is Kai.
Her name is Opaka.
Okay,
Kai is a term for the Pope, the leader.
Pope Opaka.
Yeah, think of Pope. Yeah.
Yeah. But so you mentioned, and I think I said this earlier, but that you must find the 5 orbs to
I think there's 8.
Or 8 orbs
or
to
9.
9 orbs to, and there's like, and then what's her name?
Dex got turned
into an orb or something for a second when she came back. But anyway, the point is that it felt like a video game.
She was transported via the orb.
And you said there's things later in the series that will support, her being like, okay, you just walked into my temple. Let me give you.
You were very critical
most special
of
orb.
that. Yeah. You were very critical of him walking in there and her immediately just being like, come this way. Let's go down here. You have to face this thing.
And here's the most special item in our planet. Yep. Take it. Yep. and again, that to me, in addition to being writing that's unsupported at this point, because it's a pilot, is just the idea. There's nothing wrong with having a religious experience to get over the death of your wife, but it seems like there is something about being the chosen one to get over the death of your life, because I feel like it's impossible for people to become the chosen one. And that's what's so lovely about Star Trek, is it's egalitarian. It's for everybody. Like, you don't have to become Luke Skywalker and become the chosen one and have this whole religion devoted to you. It's not individualistic. It's communistic. And that's what's good about it, is it has a kind of an actual workable plan for human life, which is everybody should be treated somewhat nicely, and we should probably try to help each other. And it doesn't involve, I don't know. Star Trek versus Star Wars politics. Yeah. Anyway,
it's communal.
It seems like a better workable thing. But anyway, that was just, again, these are all the old nitpicks, and they're all coming back to me. But I still enjoyed the episode.
So he ends up getting transferred to this space station that is broken down and shitty, left behind by the occupying force, the Cardassians. And they occupied Bajor for a while. When they left this station, they just basically tore it the fuck up. And you don't know this at this point, but Gul Dukat, who you met in this episode, this is where he was stationed. He was stationed at Deep Space Nine, which was called Terok Nor at the time.
Oh, well, Gul Dukat mentioned that it was his office. He was
Did he mention that? Oh, yeah.
He was like, I'm used to sitting on the other side of the desk or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, he was here for a long time, and they go heavily into all of that stuff later. They mine all of that stuff between the Cardassians and Bajor and stuff for as much as it's worth. And he's Marco Limo, who plays Gul Dukat, is one of my favorite actors and characters in the show. The other one of my favorite actors in the show, J.G. Hertzler, plays a very small role in this. He plays the, I guess, captain of the ship that Sisko's on at the beginning in Wolf 359. And he actually gets a speaking line when Sisko is in the wormhole with the prophets, and he steps up and says something. I don't remember what he says, but I had never noticed that. I was like, oh shit, that's him, because he has such a distinct voice that I was like, oh, because normally he's a Klingon in the rest of the show. Yeah. He has a couple other roles, but mainly he's a Klingon. And he's a really prominent Klingon called Martok. So when you find Martok, he's going to be in the show a bit. But those are two of my favorites from this. Who is Nog's dad, who is the young Ferengi in this episode, who gets taken by Odo because he's stealing supplies or whatever. You don't actually see his dad in this episode. I don't know why. They had cast him. They had cast his dad. His dad's in the episode. He's at the Davo table. They're playing what's like basically roulette kind of looking thing. He's the guy at the table who's dealing it or whatever the fuck. But for some reason, they just focus on Quark. I guess they didn't want to confuse people by having two Ferengi in one episode or something at first. So they just had it be him talking about his nephew instead of about Rom talking about his son. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, he's even credited, but he's credited as the Ferengi pit boss instead of his actual character. And in that same bit of time, we get introduced to the promenade, all the main features of the show that we're gonna be spending a lot of time on the promenade. We're spending a lot of time in ops. We're gonna be spending a lot of time in the docking rings where people come off and they have the big cool rolling door and stuff. And this show has a lot more kind of impressive, like, physical tech than I think some of the other Star Treks before it, and even a lot of them after it. Those big rolling doors that are like the airlock doors that look like big gears, kind of like steampunky looking shit or whatever. There's an elevator that comes up into the set in ops. So in the background, people are constantly going up into it, which is not something that you really see very much. It's just, if someone takes a turbo lift in one of the other the other two Star Treks before this, it's just the doors open and they walk out of a room, but this is like physically moves within the shot. And even when Odo was transformed into that bag to go into the Cardassian ship, that thing that he went into, the little door, it like was like pneumatic, came down, and I was like, this is all really impressive, and they spent some money on this episode. I don't, you just looking at it, you can tell, because the Odo effects, like you had pointed out, Terminator 2 had come out not long before this. Those same effects, they're pretty much using in this. They don't look as good, but it's pretty much the same stuff. And they have to very sparingly use that in this show, which I think a lot of people it becomes a criticism of the character of Odo, because they're just like, why are you just changing shit all the time? You change into a fucking bird or whatever the fuck and do all kinds of stuff. And it's like, well, because it's expensive, motherfucker. To do this thing where he transforms, they have to be clever about doing it a lot of times. And they also,
I thought it was
just make him an asshole too, so he just doesn't do it a lot because he's just a dick.
I like the idea of being a being that can contain objects as another object.
Yeah, that's fun, right? Like becoming a bag that holds a bunch of latinum gold.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's an unusual use of transfer, like being able to transform into whatever, shape shifting. But so yeah, okay. So they, you know, we get introduced to Dax, who's the Trill. She has the symbiote inside of her, which you said looked like a Cronenberg kind of thing.
Looked like something from the movie Existence by Cronenberg, and that was great. I love that little bit of grossness. Like, yeah,
and the Trill are one of those things that they made up for the show, and it's a great metaphor for like transgender stuff and all of that too. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's ahead of its time. I was gonna say, I was going to say something. I had more nitpicks, but I think we're not there yet in the plot.
Only nitpicks.
Well, that's how I express affection. I'm sorry. I enjoy it, but
so if you were leaving, you know, you're Cole Meany in the scene, and you're leaving Patrick Stewart. You know, you'd be complaining about his uniform not looking correct or something. That would be like, your level of affection.
No, I'd be like, have you heard about, you know, Game of Thrones? Would you like to know about this finer detail on how they pronounce names and how it's slightly different? Like, I mean, that's my way of interacting with people. But
what do you think about Dax in the episode? She has her little by way of touching the orb, she has a little flashback. We get to see her surgery to become the next. So, like, what is your grasp on what her character is right now?
Well, she's a being that goes from host being to other host being, and they seem pretty happy about it. They're like, this is great. And then it seemed like she kind of had, like, I think I may be remembering something you told me when we previously watched this episode, like 5 to 7 years ago, that maybe she had a possible romantic interest in Cisco or something. But they're friends, but like, he smiled at her in a way that I was like, oh, well, maybe they're going to set up, you know, like romantic interest being that they seem like they're friends. But I like that character. I think it's a cool character. But there's not much done with her. She just like looked up some old information about the orbs, and she just was. She had dots on the side of her face. Just a little bit of dots, you know, like a little flowing dots. It's just how they do with those characters.
She's a Trill. That's they have dots.
Trill. I didn't pick up on a whole lot involving her. She didn't seem to do a whole lot other than just have that flashback. Is there something I should have picked up on?
No, not necessarily. I'm just curious about first impressions on some of these characters, like Alexander Siddig, who plays Dr. Bashir. And you like him from Game of Thrones anyway, right? I'm
more in the fact that they gave up on writing. He's such a great actor, and they threw him in Game of Thrones, and then people had a bad reaction to the Sand Snakes, which he was a part of that plot, and so then they killed him off. Like at the beginning of the next season, after introducing him and having a larger part of the novels, and it was. I felt so sorry for the actor, and I read an interview where he was like, we thought we were gonna be a big part of it, and they just like gave us a new script, and it was like, you're dead. and so, like, you know, he's a great actor, and I thought he was fine here. He was like, I'm excited to be on a ship and explore the frontier, and I on a political level, or a level of complicating the nuance of being an international or interplanetary peacekeeping force. Like Kira was like, hey, you know, this is your adventure in the frontier, but this is my home.
Yep.
Like, it was preachy, but at least it was making the point about, like, you know, that's a nice point to make for Star Trek.
They need to set these tones early.
Yeah.
So that they can play the nuance later, I think. And also, you're playing a little bit of an uphill game here with an audience that you're trying to get it as wide as possible, especially for a pilot. And I get that.
Yeah.
And it's 1993. Audiences are not very sophisticated, especially for TV. So, you know, while you want it to be more nuanced, I think when you're trying to get them in the door, you kind of have to like shove the fucking spoon all the way to the back of their throat.
Yeah, and this is pretty special to have just any of this in a show at that time, I assume, when there wasn't even serialization.
There wasn't really serialization. This is kind of the pioneer of that. So, yeah.
Well, I was going to say something about O'Brien's the thing where skipping ahead is okay to skip ahead a little bit.
No, it's fine. I mean, I'm trying to go past the stuff we already talked about and then just kind of keep moving through it. But
just a small point, which is he had a whole section where he's like, we got to power down the shields. And I think he worked with Kira or Dax to like, we got to power down the shields and reconfigure to protect our space station from
the key areas, because they can't protect everything.
Yeah. And that felt so much like, every other time in Star Trek where there's been a spaceship and they have to talk about, doing something with the shields and they got to, rearrange all this stuff. And it made me think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I don't think you've watched.
I've seen some of, but I haven't seen a lot of it. Rachel's seen more than I have.
It's a very, it's a show that has many, many bad episodes, but it's very dear to my heart. And anyway, it has this thing where they're like, we got to have kickboxing in every episode. And so it's like, every single episode is like, we got to cut to Buffy's stunt double. She's going to kickbox some vampires in heavy makeup for about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. And sometimes they'll do some interesting things, but mostly it's just like, all right, we got through enough lines of dialogue. Now we're gonna have some kickboxing.
Yes.
And she'll kickbox some vampires. And that just was what the O'Brien stuff felt like. I was just like, it's like, get the shields up. Oh, we got the shields up. Oh, things are better. Oh, and it's just like, you're doing it with a space station. Like, you're on a space station. Don't treat it like a spaceship. That's how.
But they're doing it both ways, because they have to move the space station to the wormhole.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of a starship, right? In this episode.
I mean, it's setting up the wormhole.
And also, you have to, and this is the big pilot movie experience, TV movie experience, where you're going to you get characterization, you get people getting angry at each other, you get spaceship, battle stuff. Not really in this episode. It's like some fucking ships sit there and fire off a couple of phasers and then they fire back once. But I think an important thing about that whole section is that and I think this speaks more widely, kind of like behind the scenes of the show as well, is that they do it all without the Enterprise coming back to save them. They're able to solve the issue without that. So the Enterprise, by the time it comes back, everything's already resolved. They didn't need the Enterprise to come back at all. It was really just for Sisko to be like, Captain, I'm good. I don't need you to tell Starfleet that I'm ready to get out of here. And it was important for the show to be able to stand on its own too. If Picard had just come back guns ablazing and solved the problems of the show, then it would have been to all the characters' detriment. They can't hold their own. But they were able to problem solve and do a couple of tricky things. Create
like
fake weapons on their sensors, confuse them, that kind of stuff, which is also classic Starfleet, Star Trek stuff of let's try to avoid a fight if we can. Then you have to give the people a little bit of action, so that way the people that are there for the pews don't turn it off. So you got a little bit of that too. And then you get Sisko's first interaction with the prophets and the wormhole aliens, and him coming out of it unscathed. I can't remember if they mentioned it in this episode why the prophets were pissed. Did they mention it?
The prophets, again, the prophets, the wormhole aliens. I don't know if they're pissed. They're just confused about the nature of time.
Well, they were confused about that as well, but they were pissed at people because they were like, don't you understand what you're doing? And at one point, Sisko is like standing there, and they all kind of like disappear for a second, and then they come back, and it's when Dukat and them come in with their ship. Do you remember this moment?
It's when Dukat and them. I think he has to say. I do remember him saying,
what's happening, and then they're like, don't you understand what you're doing, or something? I say something to that effect. And
I don't remember that. I remember that they accused him of bringing more people in. I think that's about all.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, so they didn't really mention this episode yet, so I'm not going to say anything yet if they didn't say anything. But they were gonna annihilate him. That'll unfold over time. They were gonna kill him. They were gonna kill
him for, I forget what was the stated reason for they were gonna kill him.
Because the humans and the Cardassians were doing something to hurt them.
Yeah,
and they mention it, but they didn't fully tackle it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I'm not quite sure, but yeah, the thing that struck me about that, both in putting Picard in this episode to be like, hey, viewers, come watch Picard, and both in terms of using all those setups with flashbacks with Sisko, and then having the characters he was in flashbacks with to address him, but as the aliens. Both those things worked really well for me this time. Like both. I thought that was a very tasteful use of Picard, like using him as Locutus, as, you know, a bad guy to the protagonist of the show. I think that was cool. And then I also really liked this time a lot more him talking to Jennifer and him talking to Jake and him talking to other people from his past and just having these conversations and trying to talk about the nature of what it would, basically for us, what it would be like if we didn't have to worry about time and we, had existence where we existed all at once, like that. That's, like he's really explaining the opposite to them, but it's a neat way for us to think about it. And I liked all of that. I thought it was really well done.
And I should say, the Trills, that race did come from TNG, but they were only in one episode or something. This series expands upon it in a more like in-depth way. But I mean, what are your overall impressions of the conversations with the wormhole aliens? I always worry when I show people that first episode that they just think that all that stuff is so fucking tedious.
Well, I mean, when I first saw it, I was a little bit like, why do we have to spend 2 hours on baseball metaphors? But again, that was overblown. Like you said, it was 90 seconds. My memory of this episode was baseball metaphors, but there's barely there. I liked all that, and I liked it as him getting over his grief over Jennifer's death. I thought that was well done. I liked that a lot.
What do you think about Avery Brooks overall, Sisko?
Well, I mean, I think I'm influenced by you because you always talk about how he can be a very intense actor, and he was very intense. He had like a thing where like when he said Jennifer, his voice would go higher, like he would have like little bits at the end of sentences where his voice would go up a little bit, like he was just being more gentle all of a sudden. And then he also like one time he like made a weird noise. He was like, oh, he made like a whoo, like an excitement noise, and you laughed, and I thought it was like, and I do agree it was funny. Like he kind of is Picardian in his how like he's kind of refined, sort of, but he's also has a lot more like trauma. And I think they kind of, you know, like when Dax and him went to the planet with the wormhole aliens, like his version of the planet was all like rocky cliffs and storms, and her version was like green fields and meadows. And I thought that was very nice. Like she was in a pretty decent place, and then he was like just dark sadness. And I also really like when he for a character beat for him where he met Kira, and Kira was like just like in the middle of an argument and just still angry and just kind of like contemptuous of him, and he was just like, he kind of showed like interest. He was like, oh wow, somebody's feeling like I feel, you know, like he had a like excitement that somebody was upset, sort of, so he could like he was inwardly upset but outwardly sort of placid at times, but sometimes not. I don't know, he was good. He was very solid. But I think I'm influenced by you. I think one time you showed me a picture of him, like the actor Avery Brooks playing the piano or something.
Yeah, there's a documentary where William Shatner goes and interviews the other captains, and Avery Brooks' interview is done at a piano, and he is acting very erratic in an awesome way the entire time, and playing the piano while he's talking. It's amazing.
That's the proper way to deal with Shatner.
Yeah, probably.
But you know, I also liked the emotions of the beach scene and him like running into his dead wife, and just and just how excited he was. Anyway, and I'm sure, I don't know that, you know, she's going to play a big part. You know, she probably is only in this pilot, but it's just like I liked the story a lot more this time around.
Yeah, and it was, you know, we were talking about it. It was like, should we just not do this? It was like, well, we need to do all of them. But even regardless, like, I think going back and rewatching this episode, if you're doing like, even if you were just doing like an essentials of Deep Space Nine, which, you know, I think maybe in the first couple of seasons you probably could do that. You definitely need to watch this one. And I don't say that about every pilot for every TV show. Like the fucking Star Wars, the Clone Wars, there ain't no fucking reason anybody needs to watch that first episode ever again. It is garbage. but this is one of those where it's like, you should definitely watch this. It gets you, there's a lot of stuff in this episode that pays off over the entire show, and you really need to have that backing going into it. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. What do you have any other final kind of thoughts on?
Oh, we're already
on the emissary.
Done.
I mean, we can talk a little bit more about kind of the end of it if you want, but I mean, we hit most of the high notes. I mean, you can talk about Quark. What do you think about Quark?
I mean, that's another one through the magic of YouTube and loving Armin Shearman, who plays a principal in Buffy. I've seen some YouTube videos of like Quark. So there's a YouTube video of him talking to Garrick about root beer, which I've watched, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Cisco strong arms him into staying on the station.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, hey, I'll stay on the station so that you'll release my nephew. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was fine. It was
which we were talking during the episode about the problem of currency in Star Trek, and I think that the showrunners were aware of that and kind of just went when they introduced all this stuff into it, because it's weird, because the Federation doesn't have currency, but the Ferengi do. The Bajorans seemingly do. I don't remember if they directly. We'll find out again. But like the Cardassians do. Like, so
I feel like the trouble
this
with
little
tribbles
melting pot. But yeah.
I feel like somewhere in the original, they have credits in the original series, right? Like, so there's some use of money in some way, but then it always was striking. I'm addicted to YouTube, and one day I happened upon a scene from First Contact, and it's Alfre Woodard talking to Jean-Luc Picard, and he's just like, "We're in from the future. Resources have all been solved. We don't use money." And she's like, "You guys must be making the big bucks being astronauts." Right. And it's just such a beautiful idea about, like the idea of
there's no more scarcity, so there's no need for money.
Yeah, but this is totally set in a world where there's scarcity.
Well, there's scarcity for certain individuals, and like you said,
for entire peoples.
Yeah, yes, but the Federation encompasses a bunch of different peoples. So, but the Federation's there is more of a UN peacekeeping thing, like you said, and so like but
it just seemed like the Bajorans are getting a shit end of the stick, and I'm sure 100%. There's Bajorans, they're rich Bajorans, and they're more Picardian Bajorans and more Quarkian Bajorans.
Well, the Bajorans are supposed to definitely be more of a kind of like modern day humans are supposed to be able to identify with Bajorans. Like they understand the plight that they're going through with this occupying force, and you can lay that on whatever you want from any time period, because it happens over and over and over again. It's happening again right now, right? And honestly, you don't even have to date that in any way. Like, it's just something that happens over and over again, and the Cardassians are just the latest in line of occupiers, and the show is very much saying that, like in Starfleet and stuff, sometimes kind of approaches it maybe a little bit callously, because they're just kind of like, look, this is just a thing you have to get past, and it's like, yeah, but these are people's lives, and it's more than that. But they're trying to usher them towards joining the Federation and trying to move to as they see the next step of social evolution.
Yeah. And it did a good job at that. If you're wrapping up, you did mention that you had trivia.
I've been just kind of sprinkling stuff throughout.
Okay. Well, I don't know any trivia. I'm looking.
You don't have to know any trivia at all. You're here to watch it for the first time.
Sure. Yeah. It's just I'm looking at the Memory Alpha thing, but I don't see trivia. I'm afraid to go very low because I don't want spoilers. So, but I liked it, and I don't know. I don't know if I have a summary thought other than they need to turn up. Anyway, I won't say anything because I don't know anything. I just don't know.
That's okay.
The grit would have to be really gritty indeed. That's all I gotta say.
Look, there are.
I will love it regardless of whether or not it's gritty. But
it is. It is gritty. It's not gonna be like fucking Game of Thrones and people getting eviscerated and stuff. But there's some fucked up shit that happens in this show. Not to the level of Tuvix, but that's like the most fucked up thing that's like happened in Star Trek ever. But like Tuvix.
I don't know what's
it's an episode of Star Trek Voyager. If nothing else, we'll do a special where we just watch the Tuvix episode, because honestly, you can go in cold to it. I think it's okay. You don't have to necessarily know everything that's going on. It's a great kind of standalone, weird, fucked up episode for Star Trek Voyager. But but this one's got plenty of that kind of stuff, especially once you get towards the middle of the show and there's a new arc that's kind of starting that I won't say anything more on. But
okay, well, I'm happy to do it.
The show breaks some rules that Roddenberry had. And I think for the better.
Yeah. Well, again, like in terms of, I don't know. In terms of modern politics, I love Star Trek for the idea of it's more. Anyway, I like Star Trek. I'm heartened by the use of Star Trek in local politics to promote happy ideas and or progressive ideas and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird, and obviously I don't need to bring all these things to a 1993 television show, which has very little to do with modern politics. So I'll shut up.
But
that's
it
what
does.
I'll do.
It does still. I mean, that's the beauty of Star Trek. I don't think it times out or anything. I mean,
no, but
it's part of the beauty of science fiction. You can overlay it wherever you want to.
Sure, yeah, but I can overlay it plenty. I can dial it back. Anyway, I don't have a coherent point to make. I think you should wrap up, Chad. How you want to wrap up?
So wrapping up, we're gonna do every episode of Star Trek. So
okay, Deep Space Nine, not of Star Trek
maybe.
In general, but we would never leave.
I know that's okay.
We would need funding.
Would we?
It would be the rest of our lives.
That's okay. I could think of worse things.
There's worse things, but I mean, just like, yeah, I mean, again, but like some variety.
This is it, Ben. This is where we live now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll just do this.
Trapped here forever.
For no pay.
Right.
With no.
We don't need anything. There's no scarcity.
Yeah.
Opening and closing music courtesy of Lewis Humanoid 2 on YouTube. Go check them out.